I told my wife, I said, we're going to hit the bathroom. And I put her down, I got on top of her, and I said, it's a tornado that's coming, and God looked after us, let's put it that way. We're alive, house can be repaired, we'll be all right.
This is a special presentation from the Arkansas Storm Team, continuing coverage of Arkansas's tornado recovery.
Arkansans across the state trying to recover from Sunday night's tornadoes. This is what it looks like. This is what we know. 14 people confirmed dead, 10 in Faulkner County, 3 in Pulaski County, and 1 in White County. All 3 counties have now been declared disaster areas. Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening, everybody. We are live with a special report, special Arkansas Storm Team coverage on both KARK and Fox 16, a historic television partnership for storm historic coverage. We have crews across the state bringing you the latest in tornado recovery. Those reporters stretching the length of the storm's deadly path. We have got this thing covered for you. In Mayflower, Josh Berry. In Valonia, David Goins. Gentlemen, thank you very much. You both have been involved in this. You, I guess you could say, have been knee, if not waist deep in it. Josh in Mayflower, let's begin with you. What has the day revealed there?
Well, Bob, I'll tell you, like you said, we were here last night, just minutes after this tornado blew through this town. Where I'm standing right now, you can actually get a pretty good vantage point of the path that this tornado took as it blew through this town of Mayflower here last night. The tops of trees sheared off, debris in those trees, but more importantly, it's the destruction and the possible death that happened right here where we're standing along 365 in Mayflower, just about Gandy Road. This is one of the hardest hit places that we have seen, and what a lot of people are saying is the hardest hit places here. We've talked with people that have lost homes, businesses, and having a real hard time. It's the destruction is clear here, but it's the faces and the looks on the faces of the people that have either seen death or know of loved ones that have been lost in this or are still missing. The governor was here today speaking to the media and speaking to the people here that had questions that weren't allowed to get through. There are roadblocks all along 365 here of National Guardsmen, local agencies. There are agencies from all over the state, all over central Arkansas that are here helping in this recovery process. We've got the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department that they've got their dozers out here. They've got their trucks out here that are trying to, clear the roads and make easy access for the emergency vehicles that have been out here. We've seen ambulance still driving up and down these roads as the people that are living out here and the people that did live out here are trying to recover. Much of this is not recoverable that is out here. If you take a look over here further to the left, there is a home that's right behind me that destroyed. Nothing left of it, and it's much of the same all across this area. I spoke with a man that his family owns much of the property out here, including the Lumber One business that's just beyond these down trees over here. That place is destroyed. They said this is very hard to deal with, but while again there has been tons of destruction here, the lives lost or the injuries is what's impacting people out here the hardest, and the folks that did survive, they're just grateful to have their lives today. But we have been out here again all last night, all today, speaking and working with the people out here. Our coverage is far from over from Mayflower. Bob.
Josh, thank you very much. I guess joined by Fox 16 Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin. The sun is shining down on a very different Mayflower than we saw that was there yesterday. And some of the images we're getting right now telling a big portion of the story.
Yeah, they are. I mean, this morning we really got a very good indication of just the extent of the damage. Last night, it was kind of hard in the midst of all the chaos that was going on and night coming on. It was just difficult to really get a grasp of just how widespread the damage was.
And if we take a look at some of the video, what is any of this telling you anything as a meteorologist?
Well, one of the things that stands out right away is that this was a very wide tornado, and those were the reports that we were getting last night. Sometimes you get these reports of, half-mile or three-quarter-mile wide tornado, but you don't really know because they're just estimated by observers that may be very far away or not really be able to get a good grasp on just how big the circulation is. Sometimes the tornado may be rain-wrapped and it's much smaller than it really looks. In this case, it wasn't. This was a huge, huge, wide tornado. I mean, you look at the width of this damage path, And it's just incredible. I mean, it's obviously tornado damage. I mean, that stands out right away. But it's the width.
When you take a look at this, can you determine at this point this is going to be an EF2, EF3?
Well, the way that these tornadoes are rated, typically it's by the damage that's done to specific kinds of structures. So really what the survey teams are going to look at is what was the maximum damage done to what kind of structure. I mean, once you're talking about a home getting reduced down to its foundation, you're looking at likely at least EF3 intensity out of the scale of 0 to 5. But it could even be stronger than that. It just depends on how was the house built?
Yeah.
I mean, how sturdy was it? If it's a very sturdy structure and it was completely wiped down to its foundation, that could indicate EF4. Probably not EF5. I mean, EF5s are incredibly rare. An EF5 tornado will rip pavement off the ground.
And you think about that, and that would be strictly just, I guess you could say, just the winds itself. But then you think the wind moving at 100 miles an hour plus, carrying things with it. You know, and then you've got large forces bringing down other structures.
You're talking about debris hitting structures and causing additional damage, and that just the flying debris can cause a lot of damage too. And just looking at some of the damage around the vicinity of the tornado. I mean, first of all, you notice that a lot of structures are they were just wiped completely off the ground, and tree limbs, trees actually broken pretty much right in the middle of the trunks. You see
which is unusual.
Like
yeah, they weren't uprooted, but they were just little snapped.
Yeah, they're snapped. And that usually indicates a very strong tornado. I think at minimum, just by looking at that kind of widespread damage, you're looking at an EF3 at minimum. But the storm survey teams are going to be out there. The National Weather Service is likely going to spend a couple of days out there surveying the damage. And the way that a tornado is rated is how much damage was done at its maximum point. So let's just say, for example, it was EF4. It might have been EF4 for a very short distance, not the entire distance of the tornado track.
But I think once you get past, EF2, it's all bad news.
It really is.
I mean, once you start measuring these things along the EF scale, I mean, it's just bad.
And that was the situation yesterday where there was an enhanced threat for strong to violent tornadoes, which means EF2 or higher. As a matter of fact, the Storm Prediction Center was indicating an 80% chance of an EF2 or higher tornado within that particularly dangerous situation, tornado watch area that we were in yesterday.
To say the least, they had their ducks in a row and they called that one. All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Well, after the storm tore through Mayflower, Valonia was next in its destructive path, and that is where we find David Goins with the very latest on this. David, what is the day shaped up like there?
That's right, Bob. Yeah, it has been an interesting afternoon. You can hear the chainsaws roaring, but no doubt hearts here breaking. As we've talked about those 10 deaths in Faulkner County, I can confirm at least 8, perhaps 9 here in the city of Valonia, certainly taking a direct toll. Let me kind of step out so you can see East 64 right now. Not a whole lot of traffic here. Obviously, the only folks that should be in Valonia are those who live here, as well as emergency responders, and as well as we've seen several electric trucks. They work to, rebuild the infrastructure here. But what we're going to give you right now, as we kind of pan off to the north across the street of Highway 64, kind of turning to the left ever so slightly here, as you can see. Out in the distance, there's not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of trees. There's tree stumps. This is essentially the path of the tornado. This is essentially, if the tornado had eyes, this is what it was looking at, going southwest to northeast from this angle. But we'll just kind of continue this journey here on 64, since we couldn't really see much of this at night, certainly last night, and then only in the light of day we've really gotten a sense of what this looks like. This is panoramic by all stretch of the imagination. Folks I've talked to today, business owners, couldn't believe it. Obviously, it pales in comparison to the loss of life that Valonia has seen, again, with at least 8 confirmed deaths here in the city, many of them in a residential neighborhood I'd say about 5,000 yards from here to the northeast. So Valonia has got to say it has a long way to go would be an understatement. Obviously, this community took it right on the chin back in 2011 and again here in 2014. Now, some particulars, Bob, just so we're clear, there is a curfew in place for people who live in Valonia. I assume if you live in Valonia, you don't have power, so if you're watching this, you're probably at a friend's house, but you can stay at your home between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. this evening. However, there's a curfew. I've been told by local law enforcement it will be enforced. They'd like you to stay in your house, but you're certainly welcome to do that if you choose to do that. However, if you do not live in Valonia, you'll be asked to leave at that time. So certainly want to make sure this area is secure because the damage is as widespread as we've seen certainly in recent memory here in this part of Arkansas. For now, we are live in Valonia for the Arkansas Storm Team. David Goins. Bob, back to you.
It is a new reality for so many people, David. Thank you very much. Well, authorities want folks to know they're limiting access to some of the areas, just as David mentioned, for safety reasons, because they want to make sure emergency crews can get in there. They don't have to be worried about other folks who are kind of wandering around trying to find something to do. But word is getting out. The story's being told by those who are living them through social media. KRK4's Brittany Johnson following updates online. Brittany, what have you been looking at today?
Well, Bob, you can just take a look at the map of what's trending in Arkansas to see that even people who aren't on the ground there are certainly tuned into the situation in Mayflower, in Valonia, across Pulaski and Faulkner counties. The trending map shows here Arkansas Strong is the hashtag that is #1, followed by, of course, tornado, Arkansas weather. Pray for Arkansas, also a big one because, of course, people are drawing on their strength through social media to lean on one another throughout these tough times. And if you look up Arkansas Strong on Twitter, then you can see photos of the destruction, again, why people are drawing on this strength. Just take a look at this photo out of Valonia. You've got mixed metals, wood. It looks like a microwave or a part of a kitchen right next to a car. The trunk is open there. Just again, a look at up close of the destruction now that it's light enough outside for people to see exactly what's going on. These are the types of photos that people are spreading so that anyone who's not there can get a look at just what these people are going through, the destruction, and how much help they're going to need. Now, an area where there has been some progress through all of this has been power outages. If you take a look at Entergy's outage map, you can see here, of course, Mayflower, Valonia, Faulkner County, there's still about 7,200 outages there, but that's come down a bit. At the height of all of this, there were about 35,000 outages, and along their summary, they tell us that there are a little bit more than 11,000 outages across the state right now. The bulk of those, again, you've got 7,200 in Faulkner County, you've got 1,100 in Pulaski County. Of course, people seeing damage along the Ferndale area as well. So we'll continue to keep you posted on what's happening on social media. Of course, these outages, if you have pictures or links to information of how people are helping one another, you can tweet me at Brittany4News. Bob.
Brittany, thank you very much. Also a great place to go for someone who's looking to help. Certainly they can find out where they can do that there on social media. Governor Mike Beebe visiting devastated towns today, assessing damage. He spoke today talking about the state's recovery efforts. Faulkner, White, and Pulaski counties all declared disaster areas. He also commented about the sense of community across the state.
Arkansans are resilient, and they do work together, and neighbors help neighbors, and other communities help other communities, and we're seeing that here, and we expect to see it continuing in the days to come.
Governor kind of summing that up there during times of need. There are no strangers in the state of Arkansas. There are shelters across the state. They opened up this morning. Antioch Baptist Church on Amity Road in Conway is open. St. Joe and Conway also open there. And Point of Grace Baptist Church, Highway 64 in West Valonia, that is open as well. These are places where you can go to get some help. Burrell Baptist Church and Highway 64 also open in Valonia. Ferncliff Camp and Conference Center in Little Rock, that is open also. Mayflower Middle School, that is open as a shelter. Oak Bowery Baptist Church in Conway, also open as a shelter. So if you know someone needing a place to stay, certainly pass along that information to them. And stick with us as we continue Arkansas Storm Team coverage of the tornado outbreak in central Arkansas. We're back right after this.
Hi, this is Joe Wilson with Wilson Auctioneers Incorporated. We conduct over 100 real estate auctions annually. Let us put sold on your property.
For more info on this great Arkansas professional, go to arkansasmatters.com.
Do you feel trapped by your credit card payments? If your credit card or medical bills are too much to overcome, consider Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Considering bankruptcy? Hit the reset button today. Call 1-800-844-8449.
The all-new Chevy Silverado From the family of the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road, the truck that beats any Ford F-150 in fuel economy, and the 2014 North American Truck of the Year. And now, during Chevy Truck Month, the price you see is the price you pay for a 2014 Chevy Silverado. Use special Truck Month pricing to get a total value of over $8,100 on this Silverado All-Star Edition with best-in-class V8 fuel economy.
See your Arkansas Best Chevy dealer.
This is a special presentation from the Arkansas Storm Team, continuing coverage of Arkansas's tornado recovery.
Well, the good news is we've cleared out across Arkansas. We don't have any more storms around. These are the storm reports from last night, and amazingly enough, almost all the damage, all the significant damage was done by one storm, one cell that developed just to the west of the Little Rock area and moved across the state. There were a couple of other tornado reports, but almost all of them came from one storm. A lot of it may have actually been one single tornado that was on the ground for a very long period of time, developing over northern Saline County, western Pulaski County, and moving just towards the northeast, all the way into northeast Arkansas. Now, this storm really started rotating back when it was across parts of northern Saline County near Perrin, and then started to move into western Pulaski County over Lake Maumelle. There was a lot of some damage reported around the Lake Maumelle area, moving over the Roland area, right across the Arkansas River, very close to Mayflower. That's where we had those tornado reports and extensive damage. It continued to the northeast, past Valonia, and then continued into White County, past El Paso, and all the way north and east into Newport and Jackson County, where we had numerous tornado reports. Now, that's not to say that the tornado was on the ground for this entire time, but this gives you an idea of just how long of a track of the supercell, over 100 miles from where it started really rotating in northern Saline County, to some of the last tornado reports that we had from this cell that were in Jackson County, over 100 miles away. Again, not saying that this was a tornado track of over 100 miles. There may be actually several different tracks in here, but likely a couple of them are very long, and the National Weather Service is out there surveying that damage, and we'll get a lot more answers about this tornado as we get past the next couple of days. But something this extensive, it takes a while to really figure out exactly what happened. Now, let's take a look at our WeatherBug camera. We have cleared out across central Arkansas. We are in the sunshine right now. No more severe weather threat across central Arkansas. That's the good news. The severe weather threat has moved well to our east and southeast. Numerous tornado warnings back across parts of Mississippi and Alabama. Very rough day across parts of Mississippi, including Tupelo, Columbus. The severe weather threat is going to move into Alabama around Birmingham over towards Huntsville. Now, we are going to get potentially a few showers as we go towards tomorrow morning with a weak disturbance that's rotating around our big upper air system. But we don't have all the energy in the atmosphere over us to really get this going into another batch of storms. So all that we're going to see for tomorrow morning would be a couple of spotty showers, and that would be about it. And then we start to dry out. Cooler air starts to move on in behind that system as the whole thing starts to move away from us. The severe weather threat for tomorrow, again, is going to be to our southeast and east. Temperatures right now still pretty warm, but the air is getting drier, so no longer really supportive of getting more storms. So for tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy, a spotty shower, cooler mid-50s. We get up into the low to mid-70s for the afternoon. Rather breezy out there, some gusts over 20 miles per hour, and rather chilly for tomorrow evening. As we take a look at that extended forecast over the next few days, still putting in very low rain chances for tomorrow. However, as we go towards Wednesday and Thursday, pretty cool. We're talking about high temperatures only in the low 60s, and then a warm-up as we go into the weekend. But obviously the real good news here is we don't have any threat of storms over the next 7 days. That is really the last thing we would need at this point, would be more potential severe weather, and right now we don't see any potential for that for the rest of this week or into the weekend or even early next week.
Which is great, because a lot of folks are real skittish now, you know, should that kind of weather roll. And that's something we talked about too. It's my wife and daughter have been out helping friends all day who lost a home, and it's something you have to consider. The physical scars are there, the damage is there, but the emotional takeaway for a lot of folks is extremely difficult.
It's very difficult to get over, to recover from something like this. Even if it didn't directly impact you, even if it just missed you, just the scare of it. It sticks with you for a while, and then it makes the next time when there's that potential, there's a lot more fear involved with that.
Weather is such a powerful force. You know, things like this happen. We don't want them to happen again. But when it's weather, all we can do is prepare, thanks to you guys. And certainly we've got crews across the state checking on the latest tornado recovery efforts. Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan is out there. He'll be joining us just a little bit later with some updates from some of the hardest hit areas. And in a press conference today, Governor Beebe spoke about all the agencies on the ground helping victims. And if more resources are needed, he vows, he says, to make that happen. The National Guard on the ground today assisting in the cleanup efforts as well. 54 soldiers called to state active duty, among others as well, assisting local authorities. An additional 6 Guard members delivered fresh water trailers to victims and volunteers today, doing whatever they can in their mission to help their friends and neighbors get through this. 3 of the 14 people killed lived in Pulaski and Saline County. They lived in the small town of Perrin. Our own Jason Snavely was there earlier this morning as the community woke up to what was left.
I don't know how I'm going to get it all cleared up, you know.
The long road of recovery begins for Mike Hendrickson in the small town of Perrin. With a population of just over 1,000, Mike has called Perrin his home for 40 years. And he says he's never experienced anything quite like he did Sunday night.
Well, it's like a train nearly. I kept hearing this roar get louder, so I looked out. And I told my wife, I said, we're going to hit the bathroom.
Located in the center of the house, Mike and his wife then crawled into the bathtub.
I got on top of her and I said, it's a tornado that's coming, and we could feel suction like our ears, like you're going down a hill, you know how your ears were kind of pop.
Mike says he felt like he was in a scene straight out of the movies, only everything happened much faster.
Well, it seems like it stays there forever. It don't. Maybe 30 seconds, it was so fast, it seemed like it was just quiet after that.
When they awoke Monday morning, they walked outside to assess the damage.
I have 2 trailers, pull-type trailers. I don't even know where they are.
Thankful to be alive, the Hendricksons later learned their neighbors weren't as fortunate. A father and his 2 teenage daughters died just a mile from Hendrickson's home. When you heard that news that a mile away, 3 were killed.
Yeah. It's lucky there's not more of us, you know. And God looked after us, let's put it that way.
Now, the survivors in Perrin rebuild their town.
We're alive. House can be repaired. We'll be all right.
Piece by piece. In Perrin, Jason Snavely for the Arkansas Storm Team.
And we begin to really understand the scope of this storm last night while listening to emergency communications. Here's what we heard as it happened.
And we have multiple vortexes on the opposite side of the river from us. And we are watching this rotation.
We have trees down in the area. Got a tornado on Otto Road and Audubon. On the ground now.
The Faulkner County Game and Fish Department at Lake Conway has been hit by the tornado, and it's just a bunch of debris right now.
Confirmed tornado touchdown, Canis Road, 38,000 blocks.
We need probably 12 or 13 ambulances are requesting here in Bologna. If you've got any additional units that can assist us up here, we're getting overran up here in Bologna. It is a real mess.
I'm in between Morgan and Montville and Mayflower exit. It's very, very, very bad. Semis flattened, trailers, cars upside down. Ambulance, paramedics are there on scene. People are in stretchers. It's bad. I'm on 60.
Reporting a pretty substantial amount of damage downtown Bologna.
Sir, I can confirm house damage and multiple trees down, line damage. Looks like the damage path is going to be at least an eighth, maybe a quarter-mile wide so far.
There are 2 houses completely swept clean.
Confirming what you meant by swept clean, you said that basically there's nothing left but the foundation, the rest is downwind, correct?
That is a Rogers. That report. I just want to let you know I can confirm 2 fatalities on Cemetery Road in Bologna. 2 fatalities.
Story being told by those who saw it first and lived through it. Join us tomorrow as we raise money for the tornado recovery effort. The Relief and Recovery Telethon will be tomorrow from 5 a.m. all the way till 10:30 p.m., giving you ample time to call in a donation to help Arkansas tornado victims. All major credit cards will be accepted. Every little bit certainly will go a long way to help your neighbors. We are just now learning the scope of last night's devastations, you could say. We're going to have more from other hard-hit areas, including White County, after this, as we continue special Arkansas Storm Team coverage.
This is a special presentation from the Arkansas Storm Team, continuing coverage of Arkansas's tornado recovery.
Arkansans across the state are trying to recover from Sunday night's tornadoes, and they will for some time. This is what we know. 14 people confirmed dead, 10 in Faulkner County, 3 in Pulaski County, and 1 in White County. All 3 counties have been declared disaster areas. And we are now learning the names of the tornado victims. 55-year-old Paula Blakemore of El Paso died last night after the storm system moved through White County there. With hundreds of injuries from the tornadoes that struck Arkansas, local hospitals called in extra staff to handle the massive influx of patients. As of 9 a.m., we understand the Conway Regional Medical Center has treated more than 100 patients. 9 patients were admitted to the medical center, 10 transported to Little Rock hospitals. Doctors at Conway say that they have seen a variety of injuries coming through the hospital as a result of the storms.
Saw some large lacerations. We had some organ injuries, rib fractures. So I had to admit a few of my patients. I know on the emergent side, they had a number of intracranial bleeds from the trauma.
The emergency room has remained open to walk-ins suffering injuries from the tornado. And when the tornado came through Valonia, houses were crushed while others remained intact. We see this all the time. As our Hillary Hunt reports from one Valonia family, a sign of faith was the only thing left standing.
Leslie Rose's cars are crushed, walls missing, and even her roof gone.
The windows were blown in, everything moved around, gone, roof off. But
the only thing that wasn't touched was this cross after a tornado came ripping through Valonia Sunday night. And today, everyone rushing to help the family, even complete strangers.
I wanted to help out here as I could. Figured that I'd be able to volunteer a little bit of time and donate some water to people who needed it.
This scene of destruction and their house in pieces is something that's all too familiar for the Rose family after they were hit by another tornado just 3 years ago.
3 years ago, we had a lot of property damage, fences down, trees. This time there were no trees, but our house. And as you can see, everything is gone. I mean, it's destroyed.
Despite losing their home for a second time.
God was with us. God was with us, taking care of us, and he's still with us. So
the Rose family is still keeping the faith. In Valonia, Hillary Hunt, Arkansas Storm Team.
And Rose says the family plans on renting a home while they rebuild for a second time. We're joined by meteorologist Jeff Baskin, talk about some more damage that we're getting a bird's eye view of. We're going to go to Valonia and take a look at some of this stuff. And it's, you know, we're trying to assess this. As you mentioned, it's going to be difficult to tell exactly what force it was on the ground, once boots on the ground, or these folks from the National Weather Service take a look at it. But what can you tell us about what we're going to see in Valonia?
What the spotters indicated yesterday is that it was likely a large wedge tornado. And these wedge tornadoes can be incredibly wide. And you look at the damage path here, it's hard to even tell exactly how wide it is because it's so expansive. I mean, look at the
you see the damage so far out.
It does. I mean, you almost don't know if you're looking down the damage path lengthwise or you're looking across it, because that's how big it is. Pretty much everything along that street there, it's gone. I mean, there's hardly anything left. It did. I mean, houses were moved off their foundations or blown off their foundations. You see slabs there. That gives you an idea just how powerful this tornado was. But not only a powerful tornado, but also a very wide tornado with a large circulation. That's what we were looking at yesterday on the radar. You could actually, there was so much debris associated with the storm, with the circulation, that the radar was actually picking up the debris associated with the tornado itself.
I saw you guys calling that out, and once, you know, I heard you guys talking about that, I mean, I knew and you guys knew this is going to be bad. What is the makeup of a tornado when it comes down and we see it will destroy a home on one side of the street but leave another line of homes untouched? Are sometimes the winds just so defined?
If you have a very tight circulation, it can definitely be that way. The size of a tornado and how intense it is don't necessarily correlate exactly. I mean, it's typical that a larger tornado will be more powerful than a smaller one, but not always. You can get a small tornado that's very intense, very wound up, so you can wind up with a narrow path of a lot of damage, and then the amount of damage as you get away from that path drastically increases. With this tornado, it was so wide that you didn't really see that clear-cut definition between loss of damage and then nothing at all. Even outside the storm, there was still quite a bit of damage. And also, there was the thunderstorm itself, even outside the tornado, there was a lot of very gusty winds. So, and that created some damage as well.
It was just a few weeks ago, annually, you guys have a storm or a severe weather special talking about, you know, the safety precautions. And the images we're seeing right here are a stark reminder of how important those safety precautions are.
They really are. I mean, it's very serious. I mean, one of the problems that we see sometimes, one of the problems in communicating the danger is that sometimes people want to seek a secondary confirmation. They say, okay, well, there's a tornado warning. Well, I don't want to take shelter unless there's actually something coming. But the problem is once you see something, it may be too late to take shelter.
Exactly.
I mean, you start to hear it, you hear the roar, and then it's upon you before you know what's going on. It can come up very, very suddenly. Sometimes these tornadoes can be rain-wrapped. You don't really see all that far. You don't have good visibility. So even if you're out there looking for it, by the time that it reaches you, it may be too late to seek shelter.
For the untrained eyes, too, you're not sure what it is you're seeing. As mentioned before, as big as these are, wow, that's a big cloud, rain cloud coming my way, when in actuality it's a rain-wrapped tornado.
Yeah. It can come up very quickly, especially if it's moving 40, 50 miles an hour. I mean, think about it. If you're going 50 miles an hour on the interstate, you know, you're moving pretty quick.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Well, people have access to the hardest hit areas. They have been taking photos on the ground. They've been posting them on social media. We've been taking a look at them, sharing some of them with you. KRK4's Brittany Johnson has been following a lot of posts online. Brittany, what are you looking at?
Well, that's right, Bob. They've been sharing these photos just to let people know in Arkansas and across the country the amount of devastation people are dealing with here. And they're using hashtags like Pray for Arkansas. These are just some of the images that people are using to show why the state and the people of Faulkner and Pulaski counties specifically need their prayer right now. And below some of these images, actual prayers coming in through social media, local folks like Hot Dog Mike, local businessmen praying for you, Arkansas. And then below that, coming from across the country, you've got a tweet here from the Grand Ole Opry. Our prayers are with all those affected by these terrible storms. Please be safe out there. And another one, as you can see, it's been favorited over 600 times from the popular Christian band Casting Crowns, and they sent a prayer along. Our help comes from the Lord, and you can see here another image that's been popular, that's been circulating throughout all of this, where someone has written on a sign, "We will praise you in this storm." So, of course, lots of people using social media to let people know how much help people need here, and just to sort of spread the word, letting them know that we have our support, or they have everyone's support at this time. If you see anything like this that you want to share with us, make sure to tweet me at Brittany4News. And if you're like the people who are praying and also looking for a way to perhaps help throughout all of this, I know a lot of people have been looking for ways to help, you will want to tune in tomorrow. We are having a relief and recovery telethon April 29th. That's from 5 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. At that time, you can call and donate to help Arkansas tornado victims. We know a lot of people have been looking for ways to do it, so you'll want to tune in tomorrow with your credit cards handy. We will be taking credit cards as well. You'll want to also stay with us as we continue our statewide coverage of the tornado recovery efforts.
Down in here, and you know, fortunately, you know, thank God everybody's okay. There's no injuries that we know of here in this location. But I'll tell you what, I was here in 2011, and I've never seen a group of people come together like this community does, Valonia, and I'm telling you, it's we all reach out to each other, and I hate to hear that anyone perished in this, and my heart goes out to those families, and gosh, you know, we're just gonna reach out and do all we can.
This is a special presentation from the Arkansas Storm Team, continuing coverage of Arkansas's tornado recovery.
It has been a long day for so many people after such a long evening. The sun came up this morning revealing the damage across the state, and it has been something to behold and something actually for Arkansans all over to roll up their sleeves and get to work. Cell towers may still be down, and communication not easy for a lot of folks, so that's one thing you might want to keep in mind too as we go through the day and the recovery efforts. We're trying to make sure that if you're trying to get in touch with someone, cell towers could be down. You can connect with loved ones on social media, things like that. Central locations also are shelters that are open up, and also, as mentioned, social media. Fox 16's Kevin Kelly standing by live with a look at what he is seeing from his vantage point. And Kevin, I know you've been very busy throughout the evening last night, and of course throughout the day, trying to get as much information as you can on what folks need to know. What can you tell us from where you are?
Well, Bob, first of all, let me tell you exactly where we are. We're just off Highway 64 in Valonia, specifically on Rocky Point Road, which is just off the highway here. And this is just really unbelievable as we show you the devastation in this one particular neighborhood. You can see this massive tree just tipped over like it was Play-Doh. And then as my photographer Ben kind of zooms in, take a look at the length of this debris field. I mean, it goes for miles and miles and miles. Off in the distance is Main Street of downtown Valonia, which is just destroyed. Homes everywhere you look have been flattened for the most part, but the debris field is just shocking. 10 people, unfortunately, victims of this massive tornado that barreled through parts of Valonia, basically hopscotching its way through various communities, neighborhoods, fields, businesses, destroying everything in its path. And this is just one small, and I want to emphasize, small example of the destruction here. I'm fortunate enough to be joined right now by Richard Lynch. He and his 4 daughters, along with his wife, were in the house you see behind me, or what's left of it. And Richard, first of all of us are extremely grateful that you and your family got through this unscathed. But describe to me what that was like when you heard this massive tornado coming through.
We made a beeline for our storm shelter in the house. We closed and locked the doors and waited it out. It didn't last very long. It was happened very quickly and very quiet, and at the end of it, and we were shocked when we came outside the house to see what kind of devastation actually transpired.
There are about 10 or 12 homes just in this particular area where you are, but as you look around and see, there's not much left.
Correct. There's utter destruction all the way from here, all the way through Valonia, up in El Paso. It was a very devastating storm.
As you well know, 2011, this is like deja vu all over again. You were in a different location 3 years ago and went through that EF2, which claimed the lives of 5 people. Now you have to go through it all over again. How do you cope with that?
That's a big decision, and this is a very strong community. The people of Arkansas rally behind all the devastations if there's natural disasters, and they do a very good job. So, very good community, and we're looking forward to rebuild again.
Well, Richard, we can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know this is extremely difficult, but we appreciate it, and thank goodness you and your family are safe.
Appreciate it.
Bob, just one small example of the destruction here, and just behind my photographer Ben, about a mile down the street is another community. I'm told about 30 homes in that particular area leveled. There's nothing left. And unfortunately, 2 victims' lives were taken in that particular area, both of them young children. But as you heard Richard here say, the spirits are high. This community will come together. They already are. Volunteers are going up and down these streets, uniting, lending a helping hand, bringing in water, bringing in chainsaws, whatever is necessary. Valonia may be down right now, but they'll be back up and running before you know it. Reporting live in Valonia. Bob, now back to you.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Our own Suzanne Bruner found a picture of a little girl in the rubble. She was able to give that picture right back to the girl's mother. Here's how it happened.
Hey, I don't know if this belongs to you, but I found this right near the tree. My daughter. You're so welcome. I'm so glad I was able to find a picture for you. Actually, my photographer found that. Thank you so much. Were you able to find any other pictures today? We found a book. My aunt, her son passed away in a car accident.
Times like this, small gestures like that make such a big difference in someone's life. People in Mayflower continue to assess the damage there of their homes. Josh Berry joining us now live with one of the tornado victims. And Josh, how's recovery going there, and how are people holding up?
Bob, it's definitely a tough sight to take in here in Mayflower. You know, we were here last night, and you still got a sense, even in the darkness, of the scope of the destruction here, the tops of the trees that you could see sheared off in the night light. But today, a much different story as people really got a chance to get out and see their homes, or what's left of them, for the first time since the tornado blew through yesterday evening. One person that knows this all too well, Bob Van Bison, we have him here with us. And Bob, we've actually pulled you away from the work that you're doing today, so we do appreciate your time here with us. For folks that weren't here, you were at your home when this tornado blew through. explain to us, if you can, the sights and the sounds, what it was like and what you did when y'all first knew that this storm was serious.
Well, we knew that the weather was getting bad, and we were watching the news. And when the power went out, the sirens went off. We turned on the weather band radio. We put it in the bathroom. We got in the bathroom. By the time we got in there, it hit, and it just rumbled the whole house, ripped the roof off it, totally destroyed it. It was about the scariest thing I've ever been through. So.
When you're in your home and you see the roof and the daylight peer into the top of your house, which is I can't imagine, it's so irregular to have an experience like that. What's going through your mind? And when you step outside and you see the destruction, what are you thinking?
I'm just glad to be alive. Everything that we have can be replaced. It's I mean, as simple as that. Me and my wife are alive, are okay, and that's the most important thing.
And that's one thing that always never ceases to amaze me is about these disasters like this, is the amount of hope and the amount of positive thinking. But you do also have family that was injured that lives right here next to you. There are homes that are no longer here. To the people that are hurt or missing, the governor says that search and rescue is the primary objective right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they need to keep on looking. If someone's missing, they need to find them. There's no doubt about that. I mean, a lot of people have been working hard out here. I mean, they've been here all night and all day. From what I've seen, they're all doing a good job.
When you're going through your home, what's the main thing you're focused on today, and what are you seeing around your property?
I'm just trying to find personal belongings, clothing, try and get all them out, keep them out of the weather. Tomorrow we'll try to start cleaning up some stuff.
It's a long road ahead of you. We're hoping the best for you guys, and I know the state is, and the rest of the nation is as well. Thank you for your time, Bob. And there's much more to come here from Mayflower as folks here continue to recover and try to assess what just happened last night as the tornado ripped through this town and caused quite a bit of damage, Bob.
Even though it's right in front of you, Josh, it can be difficult to completely understand. Thanks very much. Josh Perry reporting live in Mayflower tonight. For ways to help our victims, you can go to our website and stay tuned tonight for an extended Arkansas Storm Team coverage on Fox 16 and KLRT on the tornado recovery. We're back right after this.
This is a special presentation from the Arkansas Storm Team, continuing coverage of Arkansas's tornado recovery.
Good news, no storm threat across central Arkansas as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening hours. The severe threat has shifted well to our east, mainly across parts of Mississippi and Alabama. The Storm Prediction Center indicating a high risk now across parts of the south, although it does not include Arkansas. That's the good news. That's where we have the tornado watch. Several tornado warnings. There have been several confirmed tornadoes associated with this line of storms, but this is already well past Arkansas and moving away. What we have coming our way, just a few scattered showers out of Oklahoma, but the environment not favorable for any strong storms as we go through the evening hours or tonight. That's the good news. This is one little disturbance rotating around the huge upper air low pressure system that's been really driving the severe weather threat over the last couple of days. Now, as we take a look at our future satellite and radar, you can see some of those showers moving on in for late tonight, early tomorrow morning. Don't rule out a couple of showers, not even expecting any thunder with this. That's the good news. And then as we go towards the afternoon, some storms firing up once again, mainly well to our east and southeast, so not a problem for us. We stay mainly dry. This system is going to circulate much cooler air in as we go into the middle of the week, but the severe threat continues to move away towards the east coast as we get towards Wednesday. So as we take a look at our live weather bug camera across central Arkansas, we have clear skies out there, lots of blue skies. Actually feels pretty good out there as the humidity is dropping. Temperature is pretty warm, upper 70s near 80, but some cooler air will begin filtering on in as we go towards tonight. By tomorrow morning, back down into the mid 50s with a couple of spotty showers around. And as we go into the afternoon hours, we're talking about temperatures getting up into the low to mid 70s. Quite breezy out there, especially during the afternoon into the early evening hours, turning quite a bit cooler for tomorrow evening as we drop back down into the mid 60s. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. We're talking about temperatures generally in the 70s for tomorrow, quite breezy, only putting in some low rain chances. And the good news here is we're talking about dry weather, no storm threat through the rest of the week. Actually, only unusually cool. That's really going to be the big story over the next couple of days, but we can certainly take that. That's better than dealing with any sort of severe weather threat. That would be the last thing we need right now.
The alternative. And as far as severe weather season goes, where are we? Are we kind of past the midway point?
Well, typically, really, it begins in March. That's when we can get some of the bigger outbreaks that we've seen. I mean, even during the winter months, January and February, we've had some pretty big outbreaks. Once we get towards the middle of May, early June, usually the jet stream winds aren't as strong, and so we don't have the dynamics coming together for strong tornadoes.
Well, you guys certainly been doing a great job covering this severe weather season. KRK's Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan joining us now live. He is in Mayflower with what he's seeing there. Hey, what is your, I guess you could say, your meteorological training telling you out there, Keith?
Well, Bob, and looking at the damage, I mean, it is extensive. We have 12 18-inch diameter trees snapped very near the trunks, very near the ground. A lot of damage, but we really don't know the type of construction we're looking at in this area. Those folks from the National Weather Service doing the storm surveys, they'll be looking at the type of construction, and that's the way they'll finally determine the actual EF, or enhanced Fujita rating, that goes between 0 and 5. Definitely, we have some pretty extensive damage, not only here in Mayflower, but all along the path of the supercell thunderstorm as it moved from extreme northwest parts of Saline County up through western Pulaski County, and of course through Mayflower, Valonia, all points in between, and finally off to the northeast. It will take a little while for the folks from the National Weather Service to complete their surveys. They do have a very methodical way of doing that, a checklist, if you will, of items they look for as far as things as simple as how well a home is constructed and how bad the damage is, and they compile all that information, and then they eventually get to the point where they will determine highest wind speed that was probable in the storm, and finally come up with that rating. I would venture to say it's going to be probably at least an EF3, but of course those folks that do those storm surveys will have the final determination probably in the next day or so. Throughout the storm, it's one thing as meteorologists, when we're in the studio, Bob, we see this image on the radar screen. We were talking about the debris ball last night as the Arkansas storm team began covering this devastating supercell that moved through parts of the area. But when you come out here, it really humanizes what that debris ball is. And I can only hope that folks took the information we got over the course of the past several days leading up to the storm and during the storm itself to do all they could have done to keep them and their families safe. We'll have more for you coming out here live from Mayflower in just a little while.
Keith, thank you very much. Well, it certainly is a very, very big story, and we are just getting started. The Arkansas Storm Team will have continuing coverage until 6:30 this evening and later on this evening. We'll be right back with much more after a quick break.
This is a special presentation from the Arkansas Storm Team. Continuing coverage of Arkansas's tornado recovery.
KRK and Fox 16 teaming up to give you statewide coverage of a very expansive weather event, one that has reached so far around the state where we have fanned reporters out as far as we can go. David Goins is one of those reporters. He is in Valonia, one of the hardest hit areas there, David. A lot of folks recovering from this tornado. This is actually the second one in 3 years.
Yeah, Bob, that's right. Here in Valonia, we want to give you a sense that the amount of damage we've seen certainly surpasses what we saw back in 2011. The second point is most of the fatalities here in Valonia are about a quarter mile to my northeast. So we've really essentially made sure that recovery crews and rescue crews could do their work and really staying out of that neighborhood around Naylor Road as much as we can. That being said, the destruction is widespread throughout this town. Take a look at some of the stories of folks who are finding a lot of wreckage, but also able to rebuild if they possibly can.
And you know, David, it's one of those things, and I know viewers at home know this too, when we cover these events, rarely do we see someone who says, I just don't know what to do. Generally, they roll up their sleeves and they get right to work. David's got more from his vantage point.
For Fred Mawad, it's 11 years of work swept away in seconds.
Yeah, I need to start cleaning and see if I can salvage anything, scrap or whatever, but that's about it.
So with the help of volunteers who just walked up this afternoon, Mawad sorting through both his Daylight Donuts and Baskin Robbins stores.
This is devastating. It's crazy.
Crazier still because he says on some nights he actually sleeps at his store. Not last night. No one was here. Mawad knows just a couple thousand feet away off Naylor Road in this neighborhood, his neighbors, many of them likely his customers, lost their lives.
I can't think right now. You know, it will be a few days before you start thinking clearly, you know, and but looking around, it's everybody is in the same boat, you know. It's sad.
Stick with us as we can continue our coverage throughout the evening.